And I have to find the clicker here. First, I want to say thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to coming to Washington. Before I start to talk about my key content, I think I would like to debunk some myths. As a Dane, living in Europe, working a lot with the United States, I can see that the picture we get in the media of what's really happening today is very different from the reality. Last week, the United States came with a new national security strategy, and a lot of European media was criticizing it. A lot of European media says, oh, this is European hostile and so on. But when I read that one, and I read it now 4 times, and I read the European Union's Draghi report, I must say Draghi and the US administration is quite much in line when it comes to which challenge we have in Europe. Then we can discuss immigration policy. Well, some media don't like the tough immigration policy which the Americans is approaching, but I must say I come from Denmark, which have the toughest immigration policy in Europe, together with Switzerland. And to be honest, I just want to say the way the media have been covering this is not reflecting reality. Last week, there was also an article in The Guardian how citizens in a number of European unions across Europe was looking at America and was Trump a threat to them. It's quite interesting to compare these countries and actually what these countries is actually doing for Ukraine. If I look at the European support to Ukraine, I must say as a Dane, it's a disgrace. Europe haven't done much to stop that war the last 4 years. And if we look to the military aid and look at that, we have taken the numbers from the Kiel Institute and then compared the different countries. Yes, I come from Denmark, and Denmark has been giving indirect military aid to Ukraine about 1,700 euros per capita over the last 4 years. Norway is number 2 with 722. But if I look at a country like France, they have spent 89 euros in military aid to Ukraine over the last 4 years. And if we go down and look at Spain, they have spent 16 euros per capita in military aid to Ukraine. That's €4 a year. That's less than a cup of coffee, okay? So basically, if I look at these numbers, I think a lot of European countries should pull their act together. I think it's a disgrace that Denmark have been giving, with 6 million people, have paid 4 billion more in military aid to Ukraine than France, Spain and Italy combined. We don't talk about that in European media. We talk about United States and the way there's negotiating right now to end the war. Reality, what does this have to do with security and digital infrastructure? A lot. Because we live in a world where everything gets connected. It's not a surprise. We know it from our mobile phones. We build mobile networks. We build data centers. We have connected devices and so on. And for the last quite many years, we have done a mapping of all Chinese equipment in more than 62 countries across the world. So we're actually saying is there a risk of building the digital infrastructure with Chinese equipment? Yes, there is. Basically, it's a fundament of the modern society. If the networks close down, the society closes down. If we disconnected from the internet, the society don't work. We can't handle payments. We can't transfer things. Industries can't work, etc. And the reality is, if we look at Europe, and these numbers is actually quite much up to date, and numbers of European countries is actually still have a lot of Chinese equipment in their mobile network, despite the fact that all the European Union's 27 countries agreed in 2019 to implement the 5G toolbox, which will actually reduce or eliminate the Chinese equipment across the mobile networks. In Germany, 58% of the German mobile infrastructure is from China. All the communication solutions which Deutsche Bahn, the German railroads, is using is from Huawei, from China. And the data cloud which Deutsche Telekom offer to people across Germany and across European countries, a lot of the data is based in a cloud delivered from Huawei. So the toolbox in Europe is a fantastic tool which EU have developed but basically the key problem in the European Union is that we can maybe agree what we should do, but when it comes to action and deliver things and do things, we are very bad at that in Europe. And actually, don't blame the Americans for Europe's lack of capability to execute on plans you have agreed about. If we look at the challenge right now, in Germany, the red part of Germany, that's the place where there's only Chinese equipment in the network. That means that you can't get access to a network which is not Chinese in those parts of Germany. Is that an issue for the military? Is that an issue for NATO? Yes, it's a huge issue. The map to the right, that's the mobile towers around the Spanish Senate. Basically, all the towers, mobile masts around the Spanish Senate in Madrid is delivered by Huawei. So basically, if we look at it, even that Spain have made a law where they agreed that they should get rid of the Chinese equipment, it have not been implemented. And in the spring this year, the Spanish security authorities bought a new solution to do surveillance or monetizing mobile phone calls, and they bought it from Huawei in China. Latin America, we see the same challenge in a number of Latin American countries. We also see countries in Latin America which actually have come to the point where they have realized it's probably smart to get rid of these things. It's countries like Costa Rica, Paraguay, French Guiana. We see El Salvador basically right now have a draft of a law and they're pushing it. And we see that in Panama there's also happening a lot of things. Panama City have actually made a decision that they don't want to buy equipment or critical technology from Chinese companies. One of the issues is that we need data centers, and I don't know if any of you have heard about something called AI. I think it's something which you see a lot about it. But when we talk about AI, we need data centers. And the reality is that we see Western hyperscalers like Microsoft, Google, AWS, etc., building these data centers. But we also see the Chinese building these data centers. And we don't know when we have a device and we have some services on it, we don't know where our data is stored. Are they getting into a friendly cloud or are they getting into a Chinese cloud? You buy a piece of electronic equipment, it's connected to the internet, it takes some data from your device, put it up in the cloud. You don't know which cloud it goes into and where it goes to. We see that China right now is flooding the market with different kind of AI solution. Go on TikTok, or if you dare to do that, or go on Instagram and see the numbers of posts where people are saying China have made these cool new AI services and they're totally free. China is right now getting Chinese AI solutions installed on millions of Americans, Europeans, Latin Americans, Asians, Africans, mobile phones and devices. And we don't know what these AI solutions do with the data on your device. We don't know which data they actually collect. We don't know where they store it. We know with DeepSeek that if you install DeepSeek and do it, it says, we will collect data from your device. We will store them on a secure server in China, mainland China it says actually, and they say if you delete your account one day, we will not delete your data. Basically what they're saying in the conditions for when you say yes, 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 you install an app on your phone, you say yes, 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 you don't read those things, but the reality is they're sucking into your phone, taking all your data, your contacts, your pictures, your messages, whatever. The numbers of Chinese AIs on the market is exploding every day. I saw a commercial for this one, it's called Sea Dream. It's also one where you can do editing of pictures, and people say, oh, it's cool to make these AI videos or AI pictures and so on. Hey, this app looks cool, I download it, say yes, 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 it needs to get access to things on my device, I give it access to that, yes, 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 and suddenly, basically, your data is in some cloud somewhere, probably run by some Chinese, maybe stored in China, maybe stored outside China. If you want to know more about what China is doing on the AI side, I can recommend this report. It's from a think tank in Australia. But this actually is showing how China is using AI systems to reshaping human rights and how they work with these things. And it's a very much in deep report. And the people who wrote this is unbelievable, phenomenal people who really have made a report. It's really scary reading. Don't read it Friday night. You won't sleep. So the reality is, sorry, I have it here, sorry. So the reality is that we have, or the American government have actually been putting some restrictions of China's access to technology. And to be honest, it's working. I saw yesterday, we saw the administration were flopping again. Now can NVIDIA sell some chips to some clients in China? But the reality is that even China is very dependent on Western technology. And Huawei launched a new AI data center like 8 weeks ago. And if you look at the specification on that one, and you compare it with the latest NVIDIA chips, you basically can see that the NVIDIA solution is 32 times more efficient. That means that when Huawei built a data center to handle AI, they need 32 times more computers, they will use 32 times more energy, 32 times more cooling, etc., etc., etc. So basically we see that it is a challenge for China when we limited their access to the advanced Western technology, which actually the current administration have done and still have done in many ways. The important thing is, when we talk about these things, is that we need to go in and say, we have a lot of Chinese infrastructure. A lot of you come from countries where there's operators which have built their mobile networks with Chinese equipment. And should we rip and replace this? And we basically say, no, we don't rip and replace. We stop buying Chinese, and then we start buying Western technologies. Right now, we are working on a huge project of how to finance these things. And basically, we have put down a team of experts in my company, which basically are turning every single stone to find ways where we can point out to operators or carriers how they can finance a rip and replace or getting rid of the Chinese equipment. So I think it's very important to understand that if we look at the challenge we have right now, we're living in a world where China considers North Korea, Iran, Russia as their friends. We live in a world where it's becoming even more and more digital. We live in a world where critical infrastructure is built by Chinese equipment. But we also live in a world where a lot of the software solutions people are using is coming from China without people know they are from China. They don't know what these software solutions do on their devices. They don't know how it works. We also live in a world where I think all of us would like to have some peace, but we need to pull our acts together. And instead of people in the European Union criticizing what's going on in the US and the president in the US, the European Union or the people in the European Union should take a much higher responsibility. I think it's a disgrace that Spain over the last 4 years has spent €4 per capita in military aid to Ukraine. It's a disgrace. So I hope you could get some inspiration. I would love to share our research with you. You can go to our website. You can reach out to me. I have tons of information, but I think it's very important to create transparency of what's going on. And right now, we need to kill a lot of the myths we see in the media of what's happening here in Washington and what's happening around the world. Thank you.